Hi, everybody. Coulter Brown here on the Northern Ag Network. Thanks for joining us. We're here in Lewistown at the Montana Farmers Union Annual Convention. A lot of producers have turned out for it, and I'm joined by President Walter Schweitzer. And Walter, I'm curious for your thoughts on the sentiment of members right now. There's a lot of positives in the ag industry, but boy, there's sure some challenges out there too.
There really are. And you know, this is our 110th anniversary convention. 110 years that Farmers Union has been around advocating for the family farm, the family rancher, and our rural communities. 110 years. And you know what? Right now is as important a time as it ever has been. Because, and we have a great turnout. And I think the big turnout is because farmers and ranchers around the state of Montana are really, really concerned about their future. And so they came to Lewistown. They're going to visit in policy. They're going to brainstorm with each other. And the other thing is, Coulter, it's good for your mental health to get together with your neighbors, to commiserate with what's going on, to brainstorm, to come up with ideas on how you can survive into the future. And so it's an important deal. It's a lot of fun.
Want to get into a few of the concerns producers have. You know, anyone that sold calves here in the last 2 weeks has serious concerns with what's happened in the market, and this talk about importing beef. I know that's an issue that you feel strongly about when it comes to the labeling of this product, and you talk about the concerns producers have. That's probably the top of cattlemen's minds right now.
It really is, and you know, we are getting pretty good prices, but they're fair prices. And we're able to pay down some debt. We're able to invest in the family ranch so that we can make it to the next generation. And, you know, there was some talk about the high beef prices. Beef prices aren't high. We've had inflation. And that's really the issue that's going on right now. And if you compare how much beef you could buy with your paycheck 10 years ago versus now, about the same percentage of your paycheck could buy a pound of beef 10 years ago as it can today. And so we don't have high beef prices. But we did have a really bad impact on the livestock markets in the last week or two since the president announced that he was going to bring in beef from Argentina to solve our problems. If you look at it, we have about the same amount of beef in the U.S. food supply chain as we did 10 years ago. It's not a shortage of beef that's driving these prices. It's demand. Consumer wants to eat beef. Really, what's the difference? Since Congress repealed COOL, we have lost 20% of our ranchers. Our herd has shrunk to the lowest number that we've had since 1961. And we are now importing more beef than we ever have. It's not a supply problem. But what we really should do, if you want to provide cheaper beef for the consumer, what we need to do is get the packers to stop lying to the consumers by importing beef and putting a Product of USA label on it and selling it to the consumer at U.S. beef prices. Let's just have truth in labeling and require that everything has a country of origin labeling on it.
Well, I know there are a lot of concerns in the cattle industry right now, but thank goodness we've got these prices and really restoring profitability for a lot of ranches. But on the farming side of this deal, it's a lot tougher right now. The market has done us no favors this year or last year, and these input costs are rising. What are you hearing from growers across the state?
They're worried. They're really worried. And, you know, we had more bankruptcies in the first half of 2025 than all of 2024. And really, right now, through the winter is when most farmers are renewing their loans. And so they're going to the bankers, and the bankers are looking at their books, and they're saying, oh, man, you're getting a lot less money for the crops you're raising. And I also see you're spending a whole lot more on money on the inputs that you need to raise that crop. I don't think that you're making money. And I don't know if we can continue our operating line. And so we may see a whole lot more family farms and ranches that'll have to file bankruptcy this fall and winter.
Well, we're concerned for our farmers and need to do what we can from a policy standpoint to help them out. But I want to end on the positive side. I know Montana Farmers Union is doing some great things to support youth, support rural communities across the state. There was a great presentation from the Fergus FFA chapter today talking about a donation, a grant from Montana Farmers Union.
No, that's right. We provided the $12,500 to the Fergus FFA, Fergus school system, to put in a meat processing plant. And I'm really surprised how much they were able to do with that money. I mean, they're processing meat in that little plant, and it's pretty cool. And their kids are learning about the whole processing system. And we also, we support FFA. It's a great organization. It's teaching and developing the leaders for the next generation, not just in agriculture, but in everything. I bet you were an FFA man. Yeah, that's right. And so if you don't have an FFA program in your community, get a hold of us. We will provide $2,500 to any community that will start an FFA program.
Well, appreciate Montana Farmers Union's support of youth, and just appreciate you for putting on this convention and having these conversations. And thanks so much for having us. I think it's a great event you put together. Reporting from Lewistown at the Montana Farmers Union Convention, I'm Coulter Brown.